After parting ways with Qinmu and the others, Yankang Guoshi returned toward his residence, his steps steady despite injuries, still biting. He didn't use the main gate, because a mind like his never trusts familiar paths when the air feels slightly wrong. So, hey friends, welcome back to 3D Cartoon Review, where a single step in the dark can cost you a kingdom's secret, and a single insult can start a war. Let me ask you, if someone stole your body part, your treasures, and your dignity in one night, would you stay calm and plan, or explode immediately? Tonight's chapter opens like a joke told with a knife, because the laughter comes first, and the wound follows right after. And in Yankang, even the quietest courtyard can hide a thief bold enough to mock heaven itself. After parting ways with Qinmu and the others, Yankang Guoshi returned toward his residence, his steps steady despite injuries, still biting. He didn't use the main gate, because a mind like his never trusts familiar paths when the air feels slightly wrong. So he vaulted the wall and landed soundlessly, like a sword sliding into its sheath, eyes already measuring every shadow and angle. The protective formations were intact, yet the compound felt unnatural, as if the wind had been gagged and the moonlight had been told to stay quiet. Guoshi called out, "Fu Lao, Yuanqing," but only silence answered, thick and heavy, like snow-burying footsteps overnight. That silence wasn't peace, it was the kind of silence that appears after someone has already screamed. And no one was allowed to hear. He strode into the reception hall, and his gaze froze, because servants were piled together like bundled firewood, tightly bound and trembling. Their eyes were wide with humiliation and fear, as if they'd been forced to witness something they could never repeat safely. The most miserable sight hung from a beam. Fu Yuanqing, stripped naked and hung upside down, his tongue tied to an iron bar. A dignified little duke reduced to a ridiculous ornament, swaying gently, unable to curse, unable to scream, only able to blink and suffer. Guoshi flicked his wrist, sword light flashing once, and the ropes fell away cleanly, as if judgment itself had swung a blade. Fu Yongden collapsed, face burning red, limbs shaking, and he tried to cover himself while still gasping for breath. He stammered that he saw nothing, sensed nothing, because he'd been sealed instantly, trapped like a fish under ice. The servants babbled about ghosts, demons, and invisible monsters, because the intruder's methods felt too unreal to be human. Guoshi listened without expression, and the more they panicked, the more certain he became that this was a thief with terrifying skill. He moved deeper into the residence, every step measured, because an intact seal can still hide an empty vault. When he reached the storehouse, he saw the restrictions untouched, lines of light still perfect, like a door that had never been opened. Yet when he entered, the room felt hollow, and the emptiness hit him like cold water poured down the spine. Shelves that once held rare curios, spiritual oddities, and priceless artifacts were bare, clean, almost disrespectfully neat. This wasn't looting, it was harvesting, done with confidence, as if the thief had all the time in the world. Guoshi's eyes narrowed, because the only way through those seals without triggering alarms was a technique both profound and shameless. A name surfaced in his mind, sharp as a needle: Huanying Wuxing, Tu Tian Huanri, shadow shifting to steal day itself. Then he saw the cruelest punchline. His treasured sword god painting from the Prince of Tian Guo was gone. In its place, messy handwriting was scrawled across the wall, arrogant, playful, and full of the kind of joy only thieves possess. The message read like a drunken poem. My leg I take, your treasures I borrow, your bed I sleep, your tea I drink. It even ended like a polite farewell, as if the thief had visited a friend, not robbed the nation's greatest strategist. Guoshi's jaw tightened, because the thief wasn't only stealing wealth, he was stealing face, and face is harder to recover than gold. Guoshi stormed to the bedroom, and a stench exploded into his face so violently that even his composure nearly cracked. There, on his bed, on the place where he rested, read and planned wars, was a pile of filth. For a heartbeat, Guoshi stared as if the universe had offended him personally, as if karma had chosen humor over respect. He turned, walked to his study, and discovered his beloved teapot had become a chamber pot filled with urine. The insult was surgical, aimed at pride, aimed at cleanliness, aimed at the dignity of a man who lived simply but demanded order. Guoshi's face flushed dark purple, and he flung furniture through the window, one after another, wood cracking like the sound of restraint breaking. He roared for servants to replace everything immediately, voice sharp enough to cut stone, because rage demanded movement, not silence. But the true disaster emerged as Fu Lao reported numbers, and numbers are merciless even to geniuses. The residence had been cleaned out so thoroughly that even emergency silver had vanished, leaving Guoshi with nothing but anger and empty rooms. Fu Lao explained the stipends were spent on ceremonies, gifts, obligations, and the endless human feelings that devour coin like termites. Guoshi stood still, because a man can endure insult, yet poverty before a funeral is humiliation on a national stage. He had to attend Ling Yanfeng's funeral properly, with offerings and dignity, or the court would whisper that Guoshi had grown cold. Yet now he had no coin, no pawnable treasures, and no time to craft a respectable lie. Borrowing from friends was impossible. They were campaigning far away, scattered like chess pieces across a burning board. Borrowing from disciples felt wrong, because the teacher begging students is the kind of story enemies repeat with laughter. Selling paintings would take time and signatures, and time was exactly what funerals do not offer. In the end, a single name rose in Guoshi's mind, bitter and unavoidable, like medicine that tastes terrible but saves life. Qian Mu, rich, generous, and shamelessly capable of producing money the way other people produce breath. Guoshi exhaled, long and slow, because asking a youth for a loan felt like swallowing sand, yet necessity is a strict master. So he went, hiding his embarrassment behind a calm face, hoping the night would cover the shame of his footsteps. Meanwhile, Qin Mu had just returned to Shiziju, and the moment he entered, medicinal scent struck him like a wall. His courtyard looked like an alchemist's battlefield, piled with rare herbs, steaming cauldrons, and bundles of roots tied like captured snakes. He pushed the door open and froze, because two familiar old silhouettes sat inside as comfortably as if the house belonged to them. For a heartbeat, Qin Mu's eyes reddened, and emotion surged too fast to hide, because that face was a childhood memory made real. "Ma ye, ke ye," he blurted, voice trembling. "You came to see me," and the words tasted like warmth after long winter. Ke ye snorted immediately, as if warmth offended him, and he declared nobody came to visit. They came to collect services. He lifted his severed leg with shameless pride and demanded Qin Mu reconnect it, as casually as ordering tea. Ma Ye waved his damaged arm and demanded the same, acting like a customer at a market. Yet his eyes were quietly relieved. Then Kuei Ye displayed a leg he'd just retrieved, bragging it came from Guoshi's residence, stolen back like a trophy. Qin Mu's mouth opened slightly, half shocked and half amused, because he could already imagine Guoshi's face collapsing into rage. The elders began teasing him instantly, resurrecting ancient humiliations with the cruel affection only family can inflict. They joked about Qin Mu's childhood bedwetting, laughing so hard the cauldrons seemed to shake with their voices. They even claimed Sai Po Po once grew tired and tried to sell Qin Mu away, and Qin Mu turned crimson with despair. He tried to protest, but elder laughter is a storm. You don't stop it, you survive it. Finally, Qin Mu forced the conversation back to healing, because severed limbs are not jokes when pain returns at night. He examined their injuries with steady fingers and focused eyes, letting the healer inside him silence the embarrassed child. Just then, Hu Linger rushed in with urgent news, saying Yankang Guoshi had arrived outside the courtyard. Qin Mu's heart jumped once. Because two elders sitting inside his house were not guests, he reacted instantly, ushering Ma Ye and Kuei Ye into hiding, closing doors with the calm speed of someone raised among monsters. He stepped outside to greet Guoshi, face relaxed, posture respectful, while his mind raced like a horse sensing wolves. Guoshi stood there with a rare expression, awkwardness, hesitation, and a pride forced to bend in public. He cleared his throat, spoke in circles, then finally admitted he needed money, as if the word itself burned his tongue. Qin Mu almost laughed, not from disrespect, but from disbelief that Guoshi, pillar of the court, could be so thoroughly robbed. He kept his expression neutral and treated it like ordinary business, because humiliating Guoshi would be like poking a sleeping dragon. Qinmu ordered He Linger to bring 1,000 Dafeng coins, and when the heavy bag appeared, it sounded like dignity returning. Guoshi took the money, and for a heartbeat, his eyes softened with relief, quickly disguised behind stern control. But then Guoshi's gaze narrowed, because he sensed a powerful aura inside the courtyard, like hidden thunder behind a closed door. He hinted he wanted to step inside and see how Qinmu lived, yet the invitation sounded like an investigation. Qinmu smiled politely and blocked the entrance with gentle words, refusing without confrontation, like a young fox denying a tiger. Guoshi studied him, then chose not to push, because forcing entry would reveal his own insecurity and break the thin dignity left. He thanked Qinmu, turned and left, awkwardness trailing behind him like smoke, because even genius strategists hate begging. The moment Guoshi departed, Qinmu exhaled, returned inside, and rolled up his sleeves like a man stepping onto a battlefield. He began with Chuyangu, the flesh-eating poisonous worm that devours rot, cleaning wounds with cold efficiency and disgusting devotion. Ma Ye grimaced, Hui Ye cursed, and Qinmu ignored both, because healing often looks like cruelty before it becomes mercy. Then Qinmu activated Zawa Diangong, and earth spirit surged, planting a pear tree inside the house like a miracle born from soil. Golden pears formed quickly, heavy with essence, and the room filled with sweet fragrance that didn't belong in ordinary mortal homes. Qinmu used the pears as catalysts, guiding life force into severed tendons, stitching invisible threads where flesh had been torn. Bone met bone, tendon met tendon, and slowly the elders' bodies answered him, as if time itself rewound under his hands. Maya flexed his arm, Kaya tested his leg, and both tried to hide relief behind grumbling insults because pride is stubborn. Soon they grew restless, invited each other out to play, and left Qinmu behind with cauldrons, mess, and lingering herbal steam. When the house finally quieted, Qinmu sat alone and cultivated, because loneliness for him wasn't sadness. It was familiar training ground. He entered deeper states, shifting forms, and transformed into Zhenjing Jun, head human and snake-bodied, aura rippling strangely. In that transformation, he suddenly saw an illusion behind him, like a door made of shadow and a book floating in air. Strange characters crawled across the phantom book, foreign and ancient, and Qinmu felt his scalp tighten with instinctive dread. Before he could analyze further, a voice echoed inside his mind, amused, dangerous, and intimate in the worst way. It belonged to Tian Wang, the demon lord whose presence clung to Qinmu's consciousness like a parasite smiling in darkness. Wang told him not to overthink, claiming those words belonged to Yudu, and that learning them would grant power Qinmu needed. Qinmu didn't trust kindness from demons, yet he also didn't ignore opportunity, because survival in Canlao village trained him to bargain. Wang's price emerged quickly and sharply. Qinmu must help summon Wang's people into this world, opening a bridge for demons. The request sounded casual, but Qinmu heard the hidden flood behind it. Once opened, a door rarely closes politely. Qinmu kept calm and demanded Wang teach first, or swear an oath, because Qinmu refused to offer advantage for empty promises. Wang laughed, then agreed to swear under witness of Tubo, ruler beneath Huangquan, because even demons fear higher authority. As Wang began reciting the pact in demon language, he spoke with smug confidence, assuming Qinmu couldn't understand a single syllable. Qinmu pretended confusion and claimed he couldn't hear clearly, forcing Wang to repeat again and again, grinding patience into dust. Wang's irritation rose, but he continued, because greed can make even demons swallow humiliation when the prize tastes near. Finally, Qinmu demanded a human language oath, cornering Wang into clarity where trickery couldn't hide behind mysterious sounds. When the oath was spoken plainly, a horrifying presence stirred below Huangquan, as if Tubo opened one cold eye to listen. The pact locked into place, heavy and real, like chains clicking shut around both sides, even if each believed they held the key. Wang then revealed his own cleverness with a triumphant laugh, admitting he swore using only a thread of consciousness. His true body remained untouched by consequences, meaning the oath was safe for him. Qian Mu smiled back, equally shameless, and said he also left himself a path, because only fools enter demon deals without exits. He even joked he could summon Mo Wang's people and kill a few, arguing it wouldn't necessarily violate the Pact's wording. For a moment, hostility crackled inside Qian Mu's mind like lightning trapped in a skull, as demon and boy measured each other. Mo Wang realized Qian Mu wasn't prey, and Qian Mu realized Mo Wang wasn't simply a teacher, but a hunter playing long games. In the end, they shaped a compromise that felt like two blades crossing without breaking. Qian Mu would craft a wooden statue vessel for Mo Wang to inhabit, allowing teaching, communication, and summoning without direct possession. Mo Wang would use that vessel to teach the Yudu language, and Qian Mu would attempt the dangerous act of summoning personally. The agreement sounded neat, yet Qian Mu's heart stayed alert, because every demon deal wears silk outside and steel inside. Outside the courtyard, the capital slept under lantern light and funeral banners, unaware a new door was being carved in secret. And somewhere in Guoshi's residence, humiliation still stank in the air, proving even the strongest men can be robbed like ordinary fools. So tell me, do you think Qian Mu is truly controlling Du Tian Mo Wang? Or is the demon simply letting the boy believe he's winning? If you were Qian Mu, would you dare carve that wooden statue, knowing it might become a mouth for hell to speak through? Thanks for watching 3D Cartoon Review. Hit like, subscribe, and ring the bell, because the next episode may open a door that shouldn't exist. Until next time, keep your eyes sharp and your heart colder than your enemies, because in Yankang, even laughter can be a curse.